If you ask someone which is the hardest place on Earth to reach, chances are they will tell you Antarctica. Located in the southernmost part of the Earth, the icy landmass called Antarctica is a continent in its own right, which is actually the fifth largest in the world by area. It is home to the geographic and magnetic South Pole, which was only visited in the early 20th century. In fact, Antarctica is the last continent on Earth to have ever been inhabited by humans. It is widely believed that until the 19th century, no man had set foot on the continent or even seen it, at least as far as we know for now. Even today, Antarctica remains largely uninhabited and deserted despite its vast area, which is actually larger than that of continental Europe. With the exception of a handful of scientists and staff who reside in the area on a rotational basis, no one lives permanently in Antarctica. Although Antarctica seems like an extremely cold, dull, and desolate place with nothing to see, it is actually quite the opposite. The truth is that it is perhaps the most mysterious and intriguing continent in the world. For beneath the kilometers of ice that cover the entire continent lie many shocking secrets that we are only now beginning to uncover. Some of them could change the world as we know it. Others, perhaps, are better left unknown. Could these secrets actually be the reason that prevents us from traveling freely to Antarctica? And if so, what are they? With a total area of 5.5 million square miles, or 14 million square kilometers, an average ice thickness of about a mile and a bit, or 2 kilometers, and an average temperature of -34 degrees Celsius or 30 degrees Fahrenheit, Antarctica is the coldest place on Earth. It is not only the coldest but also the driest and windiest. In fact, Antarctica is considered a desert. We usually think of a desert as a vast, sandy place with scorching temperatures and dunes stretching as far as the eye can see. But in reality, deserts are any areas that have little or no rainfall. According to the US Antarctic Program, the continent enjoys just 2 inches of rainfall a year. This is very paradoxical, considering that it is where 70% of the Earth's freshwater resources and 90% of the world's ice are located. Having said all of that, you're probably already aware that this is one of the most extreme environments on the planet. Yet some life forms have managed to survive and adapt for millions of years. The continent's flora and fauna have evolved to withstand freezing temperatures, strong winds, and long periods of darkness. Humans, on the other hand, cannot thrive there. Although we can currently survive in extremely cold environments, that is if we only do so for a period of time before hypothermia overtakes us. Hypothermia occurs when our body temperature, which usually hovers around 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 37 degrees Celsius, drops to less than 35 or 95 degrees Fahrenheit. The more it drops, the more fatal it becomes. At a temperature of 24 to 26 degrees Celsius, about 75 to 79 degrees Fahrenheit, death can occur. The lowest temperature ever recorded for a living person is about 13 degrees Celsius or 55 degrees Fahrenheit. People can withstand extreme cold weather, but only for a certain period of time and, of course, the right equipment. The closest city to Antarctica is Ushuaia, Argentina, which is 774 miles or 1,238 kilometers away. Given its remoteness and the lack of resources available on the vast, endless island, the likelihood of death is certainly very, very high. In fact, the first expeditions conducted to Antarctica were not successful. For example, Robert Falcon Scott, one of the first people to set foot on the icy wasteland, died on his second attempt to reach the geographic South Pole. What happened to the first attempt? They had to turn back for lack of supplies. Many subsequent expeditions also failed and took many casualties. In 1965, the Muskeg snowmobile went through a large crevasse. The crack turned out to be a deep crevasse in the ice and swallowed the snowmobile. Everyone in it dies on the spot. One of the saddest and most mysterious stories surrounding Antarctica involves the bones of an unknown Chilean native. In the 1980s, human bones were discovered on one of the shores of the Antarctic Peninsula. They belonged to an unidentified woman from southern Chile, which is 1,000 kilometers or 621 miles from Antarctica. The woman is believed to have died sometime between 1819 and 1825. That is, even before the first expeditions took place. No one can say how it got there. The Drake Passage is an extremely dangerous waterway that lies between South America and Antarctica. Even well-equipped ships pass carefully through this area to avoid accidents. A canoe or boat would capsize before reaching the peninsula. But how did this young 21-year-old woman end up in Antarctica? One theory is that she may have been abducted on a ship. In those days, seal hunters took Chilean natives as guides on their ships, willingly or not. It is possible that, for whatever reason, she was left on the beaches of Antarctica. We don't know if she was alive or already dead when this happened. If you go to Antarctica, you will see monuments that depict the places where people died. Not all of the dead have such plaques, however, because some are lost forever in the endless stretches of ice that cover the lonely continent. Antarctica is a continent and technically also a country in its own right. But whose country is it? No one's. Since Antarctica has no indigenous population and no country has jurisdiction over it, the entire continent is literally no man's land. But people are people, and that has in no way stopped many countries from claiming Antarctica. When it became clear that countries were vying to claim parts of the continent, a treaty was made. After the International Geophysical Year in 1959, 12 countries signed the Atlantic Treaty. According to the agreement, no military activities were to take place in Antarctica. Furthermore, activities on this land must be limited to non-military scientific research only. Subsequently, Antarctica was declared a nature reserve in which mineral extraction was strictly prohibited in accordance with the Madrid Protocol of 1991. Today, 57 countries are part of the Atlantic Treaty System. After all, can you visit Antarctica yourself if you choose? It might surprise you, but in fact, yes, you can visit it. There are two ways you can get there. First, by becoming part of the research group of a country that has a base in Antarctica. Obviously, this is not so easy, so the only other option you have is just to go there. However, that's not exactly how you probably imagined it either. First, you'll need to apply for and be granted permission to visit the continent and travel insurance. How can you get a permit? That seems to have been thought of too. The easiest way to do it is to contact one of the cruise operators who has special permission to arrange trips to certain parts of Antarctica. Trips are limited to the Antarctic Peninsula and surrounding areas. That is, you go on a well-controlled trip and see what you need to see. But realistically, in any case, no one is stopping you from going to Antarctica. Sound easy? But it's not. Because if you want to go to Antarctica after all, you need to prepare a good amount of money for it. For cruise ships, expect to spend an average of $6,000 to $15,000 or more. That's just for a budget ticket. This price does not include accommodation, flight to the departure point, and other essentials. In addition, you may have to pay a separate fee for the permit and insurance for the trip. But let's not forget that we are talking about visiting a specific area by the authorities and nothing more. If you want to go elsewhere on your own, you are not allowed. Yes, it's no man's land you're not allowed to set foot on anyway. It's like going on a trip to a huge island as big as all of Europe and being allowed to see only its beach. Interesting, isn't it? Could the reason lie in the seemingly unbelievable theories about this most mysterious of continents that may turn out to be true? Many people believe that Antarctica's hostile environment and remote location are not the only reasons why most of us will never set foot there. Ever since the ancient Hellenes theorized that there was a land to the south called Terra Australis, people have been speculating about what might lie in the vast unknown continent. But because people today believe that Antarctica is not what it is presented to us to be, that beneath its pristine mask and otherworldly environment, it hides many secrets that governments around the world try to cover up. Let's take a look at some of these supposed secrets. A theory states that Antarctica is actually a wall that surrounds the Earth. Not a landmass, but a literal wall. This theory is part of the flat Earth beliefs and states that Antarctica is a wall of ice that keeps the oceans from spilling over. It's not clear in what exactly, probably in the middle of nowhere. If Antarctica really is a wall, what lies beyond it? Strange creatures, dragons, fantasy lands? We don't know yet. According to another theory, there is a hole somewhere in Antarctica that leads to Agartha, or the inner Earth. For the uninitiated, the hollow Earth theory holds that our planet is not dense. Instead, within our world lies another, where everything from prehistoric animals like dinosaurs to fantastical creatures unknown to us humans live. This theory has been around since the early 19th century. In fact, the supposed portal exists not only in Antarctica, but also on the opposite side of the Earth, in the Arctic. Believers insist that the poles hold the key to the entrance to this lost inner world. Detailed videos on this topic can be found on our channel. The third theory is related in some way to the previous one, in the sense that some proponents of the previous theory believe that no dinosaurs or humans of advanced civilization can be found in or under Antarctica. The Nazis hid there instead. Within this theory, there are two main beliefs. The first is that the Nazis escaped to the inner Earth through a portal in the Arctic Sea or Antarctica and took up residence there. Second, during their heyday, the Nazis were able to establish bases in Antarctica. You may be surprised, but there is a certain amount of truth in this. During World War II, Germany claimed an area in Antarctica and called it New Swabia. When Germany was defeated in 1945, it lost its claim to the area. However, there are rumors that secret German underground bases still exist on the continent today. So far, none have been officially discovered and announced to the public. Another supposed inhabitant of Antarctica, and thus of the hollow Earth, are aliens. Proponents of this theory claim that aliens are the reason the government is adamant when it comes to allowing humans on the continent. There are also claims of UFO sightings in the area. Again, this is just a theory for now. Is there a suggestion that some prehistoric animals still exist in some of those countless and endless frozen lakes in Antarctica? Worse still, could they actually not be of this world at all? Again, nothing like that has yet been found. The next theory we've discovered is that Antarctica was once a land where an advanced civilization existed. Some even believe it was Atlantis itself. The reason for this is that the continent was once a land of lush vegetation and diverse fauna. Millions of years ago, however, it froze over. The main consensus is that Antarctica has drifted too far south due to continental drift. Long ago, it was part of the supercontinent Gondwana, but when it broke apart, Antarctica drifted away and froze. Scientists have found countless evidences of its green past, but there is still no evidence of an advanced civilization. According to leading scientists, this is also impossible, given that Antarctica was frozen even before humans appeared. But what if it wasn't? The evidence that people are pointing to in opposition to scientists is an aerial photo of what looks like a pyramid. But were there really pyramids? Scientists insist that these are natural formations. To be precise, they were at the top of Mount, but none of us can go and check on the spot naturally. Actually visiting a certain part of Antarctica is actually possible. Well, you would need a lot of money and patience, but it is practically possible. For the interior of the continent, things are not exactly the same. But without splashing the cash and dealing with bureaucracy, we'll get you across the continent. After hours of painstaking research in some of the most secluded places on the World Wide Web, we've pulled the most talked about images from Google Earth and looked at the most outrageous theories associated with the continent. It's all waiting for you in the video you see to the left.